and I'm blessed to have the 5 or 6 that I have in my life, in my community, in Florida, but it's, you just wish it could be easier and be more. And I hear that from all of them, especially guys in their 50s and 60s who are single or getting divorced or, and different things. It's a challenge for so many people, and they don't know. They're lost.
Yeah.
They're lost.
And also, some of them don't even know they're lost.
Yeah.
You start your party, some on Thursday, some on Friday. They take that first line or pill of Molly, ecstasy, blow, whatever. Yeah. They are done by Monday morning to get to work.
Yeah.
And then you're chemically imbalanced through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah. And then they start up again Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
And at which point, what is your reality?
Yeah.
At which point you're in these relationships, you're experiencing these experiences where you're like, oh my God, I had so much fun this weekend.
Yeah.
But what was real about it?
Yeah.
How much fun did you really have when you're like miserable?
Yeah.
From Monday through Thursday.
Exactly.
And what was real? What was it worth it? I mean, half the people we meet, and we've also talked, we talk a lot, but you meet these people in these events when we circuited, and they don't remember you.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, we had such a great weekend. Wait, when did we meet?" And you're like, it was last year. You were also pretty messed up. And they're like, "Oh, well, it must have been great because everyone says such great things about you." You're like, "Well, it was, what do you remember? What is real? What isn't?"
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's just those, like we talk about, those chemical connections that we create through that world that when we're in it are super powerful. I won't deny it.
Yeah, in the moment they're like, "Oh my God, this moment is the best moment of my life."
And these are going to be my best friends forever.
It's a matter of the chemicals that you're taking make that moment so impactful,
and why we can't have those connections without it. That's or are we not able to be vulnerable enough and to be real enough with each other?
Because we all have something to hide.
Yeah,
we all have something to hide. It's something that we think that we have something to hide.
Yeah, we all feel an inadequacy, and I think and again, from people in my generation, growing up in the, trying to come out in the 70s, 80s, and like we were talking earlier with HIV, AIDS, and all of that kind of stuff, it was a really weird time, and it was challenging it being gay in that during those years, and especially growing up in Tennessee, which is super conservative, and you don't make the healthiest choices to have any experiences, and you get yourself into dark places, and you spend the rest of your life trying to push them down and then dig something else out. Yeah. And then again, that's why everybody knows we moved to Chicago, or we moved to Fort Lauderdale, and we moved to those because those are safe. We feel those are safe spaces for us because that's where community is, and that's where we feel protected. But it's not always the case.
Well, I think, through this move, I've realized I initially was trying to run from something, and I thought, it's not necessarily the grass is greener, but I thought, let me try to reinvent myself where I could reinvent myself wherever I decide to make a home base. And to your point of the generational differences of HIV and AIDS, my generation takes that for granted. They don't know half of what you guys went through. Yeah. No one does the research. We have a pride parade. They're shirtless on top of a float. They don't know why they're on top of a float. They're just like, oh, we got to celebrate pride. It's like, it's, and it's sad. It really is sad because you have been through so much, and your generation has been more through my generation. I put myself through a lot, but that's totally different, my background and my coming out. Again, part of it was 17, 18 South Beach, fake ID, trying to fit in, got into drugs, got into, just losing myself to fit in. And, luckily I got out early at 21, 22, but we all tried to, like you said, it could either be from hiding something or just not being vulnerable, or this is what you need to do in order to fit in.
Yeah.
But in reality, are you really fitting in? Like what do you have to show for it? Like,
Yeah, but if you're never in touch with your authentic self, and you're just identified by your body type
and your false self. It's all your false self,
and and you create a false self world around yourself because it's safe. It's safe, and it makes you feel
included,
protected, and included.
You say hi to that one guy, and we talk about this, and we'll get into it probably in later episodes. The false self, your true self, as far as dropping your ego, and losing your ego in order to discover who you are and what you really want out of life. It's difficult. It's not something. It's really hard to say, hey, take a second and look at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah.
Because
it's scary.
It's scary.
It is. It's fucking scary.
And I mean, it's looking at your inner child. Like that's another thing that we talk about. We'll probably talk about. It's just when you take a second and you breathe, like breath work, meditate, whatever you do, some kind of self-help practice, and take a second to look at yourself. That's true vulnerability, and that's what makes it so scary. I mean, I'm lucky to have you in my life, and you've helped me through. I'm not getting emotional. Have helped me through what was the beginning of my journey, where I got lost for a little bit, and then I found you, and you were just there as a friend, and we decided to keep in touch through this move, and here we are. And I do, when I have my epiphanies and my moments, I call you right away. I have someone by my side. It does make it easier.
It does make it huge to have somebody who's in the same space or is going through the same space.
Yeah.
There. Because even my friends who I love tremendously and I'm so super grateful for them, they still, like I said, they don't do really self-work to really know. And it's interesting because, I try to be there in that way as much as I can. It's great that some of them finally in their, senior years are reaching out to start working on themselves. And it gets better late than never, but it's,
and that's the thing. It's like, I feel like, and again, it's that wall, right? Like people are so scared to say, I need help or to look within. Cause I've had a life coach on and off for coming on 7 years. And I mean, you were YouTube University. I've learned a lot through you. Like it's just, we learn through others' knowledge. And I think it's that first step of, hey, how did you start your journey? Or, hey, what is this? What is inner child work? What is breath work? Yeah. Is not easy to ask, but if you have someone there. Yeah. And again, I think the one thing I want to reiterate is like this podcast, us talking, is our experiences. It's proven to be very similar in different generations of what we've experienced.
And even our hardships, because some of our hardships are chosen and some of them are brought on.
Oh,
I mean,
definitely.
we both know people. I had cancer 6 years ago, and I had when I was diagnosed with HIV, there's huge health concerns to overcome, and it forces you to be introspective because especially with HIV, and you're blaming yourself, you're blaming everybody around you, you're worried about your family. There's just so many things that, especially my family, because that was in the, I don't know, I'm not good at back math, but 24 years ago, my family was like, their only experience with HIV and really the gay community was whatever media put out and whatever was on TV.
Yeah.
So as soon as my family heard that, as soon as they heard I was HIV positive, I was dying. Mm-hmm. And that's not supportive. It's not supportive to hear it all. No. So it's, it's just really, so that's what forced me a little bit to start, a little bit like, I think when we met, where you were, it's like trying to figure, how do I fit in both worlds? How do I start working on myself and finding out who I am? But I still have all these people. Yeah. I really need all these people because I just moved to Fort Lauderdale, and it was challenging. If I give up these people, then I'm going to be here alone. And it's, and there are, I don't want to say there aren't healthy outlets in the gay community. There are lots of, religious avenues or venues to go to, lots of spiritual living.
Venues. Yeah, spiritual venues, not necessarily by the book religious. But.
Yeah, well, but again, then we're dealing, when you get into religious, and even at some, I think spirituality is a safe space, just because it's, you don't have to really go through traditional, religious.
And that's what I mean. As far as for us, we consider ourselves spiritual. I consider myself spiritual, but it's through a premise of what resonates with us.
Yeah.
As far as breathwork, meditation, Ram Dass, just little spiritual scriptures or passages. I don't want to say scriptures, but things that resonate. It's not necessarily it's one way for anyone.
Yeah.
And for anyone for that matter. I want to say like you literally doing the work and doing some research, you can start, your own spiritual journey. Exactly. And that's what I also want people to take from our conversations here in this podcast. You don't have to be the stereotypical guru, hippie to be spiritual. I don't start every day. I meditate, but I don't start every day with like a cup of tea and
we're getting there. We're getting there.
We're getting there. That's what we're doing.
Well, we learned that, again, during our growth, we've learned that, the mind, body, spirit connection is huge.
It is huge. But what I'm trying to say is it's not stereotypical.
Yeah.
It's not.
And it doesn't have to be. What I do is it doesn't have to be what you do.
It doesn't have to be. And I think that's the one thing, that's the one turn off to me towards this. What I started was, oh God, I have to be this in order to be that. I have to portray this in order to portray that. You don't. You just be, and whatever resonates with you, practice, and spread that, and namaste, spread that love, right? Just spread that love, because I think the foundation of everything is love.
Yeah.
And as far as it's just, and that's what I would want us to get across is like, we're not here to judge anyone for their lifestyle. We're here because we're two men that I love each other, that have two completely different generations, but they're so in line to experiences that it feels like it's almost repetitive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to say that, there's no judgment on what anyone else does. Yeah. Right. It's just to look inward a bit,